Welcome to this chess video, everyone. This game just really impressed me, just super mind-blowing. It was a real masterpiece by Tal, and even more impressive is that all of his moves lined up exactly with the computer before computers were invented. 100% accuracy according to chess.com, and so this is just incredible. And so let's just get right into it. Let's just start with the analysis and show this really wonderful game. And it will show exactly how all of his moves just line up so beautiful with this game. Okay, so he starts with e4, of course, very solid move. Opponent, this no-name opponent here, plays c5. This game was from 1963, and so of course Tal was at a really good place for his chess rating and ability, and is just real masterpiece. So next he plays knight f3, d6, very common opening theory, nothing too strange yet. d4, of course Tal is going to play the open variation of the Sicilian. Of course he wants to open things up, start getting those tactics going. So c captures d4, knight captures d4, knight f6, very common of course, knight c3. And here we have a6, which of course is the knight off variation, very theoretical as with many Sicilian lines. And now bishop g5. And bishop g5 here is kind of more this Russian system, and really the main line for what they thought back then. It's one of the main lines now, but especially back then, this was the main move of cutting-edge theory. Now, of course, an alternative to that could be bishop c4, which Bobby Fischer popularized himself, but Tal instead plays bishop g5, and plays this in the exact main line of main lines that they had at the time. Now, e6 was played next. f4 going really aggressively at the center, of course trying to push e5 if he's allowed to. Black plays a very thematic pawn to b5. All of this still opening theory. We're 7 moves in the game and still theory is going on. Pawn to e5, striking in the center exactly as he intended with the pawn f4 move. We do have trades on e5. And now there was a lot of pressure on this knight, so his opponent plays queen to c7 to sidestep their way out of the pin. And so next, Tal plays queen to e2. Now, as a variation show real briefly, although this is also possible, he could have captured here with the pawn. Of course, one material that way. So after e takes f6, queen to e5 check would be one idea. Blocking with queen e2, and then queen captures g5. And so material is equal here, and this is a different position, different than what happened in the game, but this is a good alternative. But Tal instead plays queen e2, defending this pawn from check. That way the black queen can't take here and then pick up the bishop. So now that the queen is out of the pin that this bishop was placing here, now they are free to move, and so knight f to d7 is the next move. Tal actively continues by castling queenside. Bishop to b7, which is now a book move. I don't know if this was theory at the time, but certainly is after this game, because here, first sacrifice of the game, Tal goes right for it, knight captures e6. And now this is a very forcing move because we are attacking the queen, and so if you don't take, like if you just retreat somewhere, like say queen back to c8, then knight can actually capture this bishop, and it looks like they'll be losing castling rights. Now I can show as a sample variation here. You might think, what if they capture back with the knight? And in this line, we actually have rook to d8 check, and then they're going to end up losing the queen because of the fork. So if you're going to try and refute the sacrifice, the best way to do that is to probably accept it. So his opponent does accept it, and that is indeed best. And now I would be very tempted to just go for a queen h5 check and try and exploit their exposed king. But I think even stronger than that was Tal's idea, which is kind of like a silent move that slowly adds more pressure, and that's queen g4 instead of h5, because now he's also eyeing the e6 pawn and putting a lot of pressure on the enemy king. Now what they should have probably done here is played a move like queen captures e5. I'll put it on the board just to show, and white would just continue development, something like bishop d3, and the game does continue from here with both sides being roughly about equal. But it is an imbalance because, black is up 3 points of material, but white has a lot of activity, might get the rook to the open file. There's a lot of pressure on the queen and king on the same file. Black is uncastled, and so this is very dangerous. There's compensation with this, piece imbalance, and the game would go on. But I don't think you really want to be down material against Tal, So we'll take a look at what was actually played in the game. So back here, what was actually played, and so they go queen to b6. And this is a blunder because it has a really nice way that you refute this. And Tal finds it. The way to refute this, the best move possible, rook to d6. And of course the queen is not going to take it because of the pawn. But then you might wonder, well, what happens if bishop takes? So bishop takes is what happened in the game. And now queen captures e6 because your own bishop is acting as interference against defending their own pawn. They don't want to block with the bishop because then that is checkmate in one move. And so he must move his king over to f8. And then here comes another brilliant move, bishop to c4. Just an amazing move because here you're threatening checkmate in one, but you're also clearing this f1 square with initiative. And so this is really more like a clearance sacrifice here. So he has to defend the checkmate on f7. So they do accept the bishop. And now here comes rook to f1 check. With the clearance that the bishop has, now this square is available to the rook. And so their king actually has no legal squares here because it is cut off really well by this queen. And so because of that, they have to only block with pieces. And so they block with the natural move, which is knight to f6. And now here comes another shock out of the blue. Rook captures f6. He sacrifices the rook, like the Levy memes all over again. And g captures f6. And then a beautiful finish, bishop to h6 checkmate. This game just really impressed me. Just this build, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, all these sacrifices out of nowhere. And if we look at the accuracy here, it was 100% accuracy that Tal played. Just an amazing game. And with that, it just seems like the magician from Riga has done it again, and wins in spectacular Tal fashion as usual. This game here really impressed me. I hope this video was as insightful for you as well. I'll see you in the next chess video.